This is the running commentary technique, something I developed when I had tinnitus and I experienced states of anxiety, and I find this particularly useful for allowing yourself to just catch up and settle with yourself. What's going on in your mind can catch up and settle with what's going on in the body. It's a really good grounding technique to help you switch off, relax and let go. All you need to do is to create 15 minutes of space. So if you have a family, just ask people not to disturb you, agree with yourself not to answer the phone, and have a place where you can just sit comfortably and not be disturbed. And what I'd like to ask you to do with this is to just imagine that you're talking to a therapist or a good friend, somebody who cares about you. And it's very simple. What you do is you put into words what you are experiencing at any one moment. So for example, if I'm sitting here taking a deep breath, I can feel my bottom sitting really comfortably on the chair. I feel quite upright. I can feel a bit of tingling in my toes on the right foot. A little bit of pressure behind my left shoulder blade. Just now I've got an itchy sensation at the end of my nose. Now there's a sort of tightness, slight sense of pressure across here. Taking another sigh. And so you carry on like this, just sitting and describing your process. And what's really important about this is to say it out loud. Because as soon as you start vocalizing your thoughts, the way we speak is much, much slower than the way we think. And it's very clarifying, and it makes it really, really obvious what's going on. If we just sit in our thoughts, we can just zone out and be anywhere. We can be all over the place. But as soon as we start describing our process, something really comes into being. You really meet your experience with much greater awareness. And the intention of this technique is to come back to what the body is experiencing. Another thing that's really important with this technique is to not look for stuff. It's in a way, it's like going to the cinema. You just sit back and you let the information come to you. So you haven't got a clue what's going to happen next. That's really important. It's like you just sit back and you witness how you are. Right now, for example, I've got an itchy sense in my left eye. And as I focus in, I can really feel my centre of attention shifting to the base of my spine. I can feel just now a little bit of pressure behind my right shoulder. In fact, my shoulders are feeling slightly tight just now. Taking another sigh. And just stay with this process for a good 15 minutes. If you're very agitated, your mind might be full of thoughts that seem to be dominating and taking over. So for example, you might be worrying about a situation with a person, trying to resolve a problem that's really bugging you. Try and just let go of this. So, for example, I might come back from work and I might sit down and might be in a real state. Oh God, I feel really accelerated, really busy, my mind's racing, I can't stop thinking about X. Whew, how is that? So I feel really uptight, I feel really tense. And just the first couple of minutes, it might be quite challenging just to sit and kind of collect your thoughts and gather yourself. But if you stay with this and keep going, it's really interesting how the mind starts to really settle back into the body and notice what's going on much more clearly. Just keep going with this. If you find it unbearable, or you feel you have to get up and get out, sometimes we just need to take off, then probably the best thing is just to get up and go for a walk. And if you still find it really hard to be with yourself and just describe how it is, then getting some sort of help or support from somebody else makes it much easier, either meeting up with friends, talking to somebody, going and having a massage. If you're in therapy, obviously that's a great support. And it's really interesting just acknowledging that it's hard just to be with yourself. That says an awful lot. So I thoroughly recommend this technique. It's very, very simple, very powerful, and practicing on a regular basis is incredibly beneficial. I practice this a lot. Sometimes I'll just lie down in the middle of the floor. That really helps me get a sense of the body and how it feels. And I may do this for half an hour, especially if I'm angry or I'm really worried about something. And if you just keep going with this and you keep staying with your present time experience of what's arising in the body, the mind slows down, and sometimes it can really become very, very clear. I think this is one of the best ways of allowing your thoughts to slow down and clarify, by saying out loud what you're experiencing. I particularly recommend this for things like tinnitus, or losing a sense of self, or when you're in some state of crisis, or dizziness, because it just immediately helps you get your bearings. You can just feel your body, feel the shape of your body, whether it feels long and thin, short and wide. Sometimes it's very hard to feel, other times it's very, very clear and easy to feel. Sometimes there's a part of your body that's really grabbing your attention. That's really interesting, and it's really useful to pay attention to that and look into it. And the moment you put your awareness into one of these symptoms deeply, very often it starts shifting, it starts changing. You can feel pressure in the body, in tension, and sometimes you can feel like it wants to expand sideways, or it just wants to open up. And just by feeling that and feeling into it, you can sometimes really start to feel a bit of movement and something starting to happen. Our bodies need our full attention to be well, and by giving our bodies our full attention, it's really interesting what can happen. So I just really want to share this with you, because it's one of the most useful things that I've learnt from all the meditation practice I've ever learnt, from my own looking around for things that worked for me. So I wish you all the best with this practice.